Going live. All right, I'm on YouTube. You can come join me if you want to support me. Come subscribe. I'd be very grateful. Neural Jack, someone throw it in the comments. Uh, Smash that like button. Hit the bell, notifications, and things. Okay. Anyway, um, it's funny because I think I've always had my YouTube live going first before TikTok. So this video is me like jumping halfway through. Um, Okay, yeah. So when infants are not shown love and affection, they're not shown. Oh, weird. Um, well, okay. So one thing is humans have what? So hold on. Sorry, I'm getting like I have too many things that I want to talk about at once. I'm getting kind of bogged down. Um, Developmentally, humans need to have social cues that they can understand. And these are important for overcoming milestones of development. And if they can't, hi, Kim, if they can't overcome these milestones of development, then they may be unprepared for social development later on in life. So, one example is like gaze sharing with a parent. Usually, uh, when a baby is with their mom, say their mom's holding them, right? Um, their mom might be teaching them about something, right? And they'll say, "Oh, look at the monkey. Oh, what a cute little monkey." And the baby will look at the monkey, and then the baby looks at mom, and they look at each other. You'll see them make eye contact, and then mom will look at the monkey, and baby looks at the monkey, and then, mom says, "Isn't the monkey happy?" And baby looks at the monkey, and the monkey looks like nothing because it's a stuffed monkey, but whatever. And baby looks back at mom. Mom looks at baby, and mom's smiling. She says, "Yeah, happy, right?" And so then baby smiles, and baby goes, "Yeah, monkey's happy, right?" This is something that it kind of cues the child into what should I be paying attention to, and how should I receive this information, and then what do I do with the information that I've just received, right? And so this is very important for infants. Not only that, it's important for infants to get adequate nutrition. It is important for infants to get adequate time with their caregiver, right? Like physically. Um, let's see what else. And all these different things can come into play to sort of mess with that child's development. Speech patterns are heavily influenced by the way that the parent speaks. And if the parent is never talking to the child, they're going to miss really important markers for them to pick up their own way of speech, right? To start to understand it. They may have really delayed speech, or if it's severe enough, like literally they never hear human language, which has been the case for a few children, such as Jeannie. I think most people are familiar with Jeannie, the girl that was locked in a cage. But they never really develop language or any understanding of like social context at all. Um, Not only that, but like physical development is heavily impeded. One of the things that we do to advance ourselves as humans is to watch other humans. Monkey see, monkey do. And humans are basically monkeys. So when we see all the adults walking around, they're all having a good time, partying, laughing it up, and whatever. They're walking around, and that looks like a lot of fun to a baby. Oh man, I wish I could walk. I wish I could get up and walk. So, how do you get up and walk? Well, you have to pay attention. Oh, that's what it looks like when you're in, especially if you have other children around, it's a lot better because little children tend to relate to children that are just a little bit older much better than an adult, right? So a child that's like just a little bit older, dang, my camera's all whack. Anyway, um, a child that's just a bit older is still kind of learning how to walk. And so they'll do things like pick themselves up using the help of the couch or a chair or something a little more sturdy. They might use their parents' like knee or something. And a smaller, like a baby, might see that and go, oh, maybe that's how I can try to start standing, right? And then it's trial and error after that. But if they never have an example, if even if you only have a parent as an example, it can still help, right? You can still learn from your parents, but you'll learn from other kids that are just a little older than you much better. Um, but without even your parents or any other children to learn from, it never even comes to question that you can walk, right? Like you just would never think that that's a thing you should do. You might do it spontaneously, maybe, but you're more likely to just get really good at crawling once you figure that out, you know? Uh, yeah, and there's all sorts of other things. So, you know, a lot of the parts of the brain that are important for developing empathy, a lot of the stuff in the prefrontal cortex, which is important for, you know, impulse control. These are all your inhibitory processes, right? Everything in the inside of the brain is how do I get what I need, and everything up here on the in the front is kind of how do I think about what I need to get what I need, right? Maybe I don't want to just like jump and grab that cookie from that other kid and punch him in the face. Maybe I should ask politely. Maybe he'll invite me to his birthday party. Um, yeah, so we need these processes, right? Um, as well as the anterior temporal lobe. Those two regions, right in this kind of area, are pretty well implicated in understanding empathy or empathic processing, which is like your ability to sort of see from another person's perspective, or at least what you think their perspective would be. Um, yeah. So you can imagine if you don't have that skill, that might be pretty detrimental to development. And these kids can often act out, they're very aggressive. Also, they tend to die early. Um, you know, many of the examples that I've seen do not live past, they live like midway through their 30s, usually, or less. I think everything has an environmental component for sure. I think people, sorry, I know I'm like been talking forever, but I think that there's a difference between realism and pessimism, but I think that given the actual like bleak nature of reality, can become pessimistic very quickly, right? But yeah, I agree with you. Sometimes realism is seen as pessimistic to people who are being naive. Between Yale and where you were before, yeah, it was University of Oregon. Literal Ivy. Yeah, it's weird here. There's a lot of pressure for sure. Where I was before, people were very relaxed, and everybody was collaborating. You know, there wasn't any problems with people being kind of like guarding their research and stuff like that. Here, even within our lab, there's pretty good collaboration. We have a huge lab. That's another thing is our resources are insane. My resources at my old lab were kind of like, well, we have what we've got, make it happen, right, with what we have. And then my resources here are, well, what do you need? Okay, let's get it, right? What does it cost? Who cares? Let's get it. And that's very different atmosphere to work in. As long as you have justification for the thing. But basically, if you have justification for the thing, money isn't an issue. Like that's unheard of, really. Uh, so there's that, which is nice. But then also, it's like, hey, you literally have access to every resource available. You need to get shit done, right? So it's a lot of pressure. And even within our lab, even though it's a really big lab and people do collaborate, there is some degree of people guarding their work because they've been working on it their whole lives and they don't want people to just swoop in and write a paper and miss their opportunity to have done something big in their field. um, Yeah, it's a little different. Vibe's a little different. The people I work with are awesome. People I worked with at University of Oregon were also awesome. So, in terms of like the way that people interact, there's not like a lot of difference. It's more the way the university, kind of how you have to act within the university that changes. Happily self-actualized to the point of knowing can't watch, don't look up. Oh my goodness, that movie was good and bad. I hated it. It was a good movie, but I hated it. I hate it because it's just so accurate. It's so it doesn't matter because nobody trusts scientists anymore. And the reason why is because there are people who are lying, calling themselves scientists and winding up on Dr. Oz and Oprah and all sorts of bullshit. And they're the public image. Acetaphone. Don't recommend. Sell a Teletubby. I hate that. It was rough. Brainy Betches. Oh, I should have named it that. Maybe I'll change it. I'll change it when it gets uploaded. Idiocracy. I love that movie. It's such a stupid movie, but man, it really is where we're headed. The brain has a beach. Noodle Jack. Yes, emotional intelligence and communication starts being learned very, very, very early, and also language is also learned very early, and um, like certain aspects of visual processing are learned early. And if you don't get all these milestones met, some of them are permanent. Like language, for instance, uh, a child who never learns language by the time they're like 5, 6, 7, they have a really hard time picking up language. Um, and it's almost like impossible for them to do so. They literally like grunt like animals. They can pick up language, but um, there's also a good deal of stuff that they just can't understand because of like really fine-tuned auditory processing. And our ears, when we're born, our ears are pretty much fully developed like an adult ear. That's not true for our eyes or our other senses, but our ears are pretty much fully developed. What isn't fully developed is how we process the information that's coming in. So if you literally never hear anyone speak, then by the time years later, when all that processing should have happened and never did, years later, when someone tries to speak to you, you can't understand what they're saying because it's just gibberish. And this is a lot like somebody who's speaking a foreign language to you really fast, right? You're like, I can't keep up with this. I have no idea what you're talking about. But not only that, some sounds that the person is making are completely imperceptible and never will be. Those are called phonemes, right? And we know that these, phonemes have like a milestone you have to meet. You have to have learned that phoneme within a very short, a very narrow window, or you rapidly lose your ability to pick up that phoneme later. Not that you can't, but it does become exponentially harder the older you get, um, which is why people have trouble, learning other languages later in life, especially if those languages are very different. If you're like going from English to German, you might not have as much trouble. There's a little bit because there's a bit of a difference in the dialects, and the phonemes. But if you go from like English to Japanese way later in life, you might have a lot, or Chinese too, right? You might have a really hard time hearing all the subtle nuances in the way that the syllables are presented, and understanding and processing the accents. You might understand them and be able to say them with your own mouth, but hearing another person say them becomes like really hard. Yeah, sorry I talk too much. You are very much a realist. I am as well, or I try to be. With small gestures. Yeah, totally. Change someone's day. That's a good outlook. Is there a dangerous effect of hormonal replacement therapy on the brain long term? Um, I I don't know enough about it that I can provide you with an accurate answer, but I will say that in general, changing hormones is dangerous business and should only be done by a professional, and also can easily be done wrong because every individual is different, and so we can only make our best guess as to what that individual needs based on what we've seen with other people. And so a lot of fine tuning and adjustment will need to be made over time as that person, as the doctor comes to learn that person's anatomy, and as that person's anatomy also adjusts to what that doctor is prescribing. So it's a lot of work. And so I imagine there is a high, or there is probably a lower threshold for something to go wrong in that time. But I think that as time goes by, that threshold raises, it increases such that the danger present to the person is probably lower. That's what I'm going to say. But I'm not sure. I can't say for sure. Oh, Andrew Wakefield. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, all that misinformation, huh? I'm sure there are plenty of people who, yeah, it's unfortunate. It really is. And that's the thing, too, is that the worst part about it is that you have all the dumb people, dumb, uh, who just wildly accept stupid stuff and spread it like wildfire all over Facebook, Twitter, things like that. Twitter's not as bad, I don't think. It might be. I'm not sure. Not on Twitter so much. But, we all know Facebook's really bad. It's basically a joke at this point. If you get any information on Facebook whatsoever, you're laughed at. But a certain demographic only gets their information from Facebook. And then, but the problem is that you have these people who put very low effort into understanding things. And so, like I was saying before, if it's too difficult to understand, they would just rather take the easy answer, even if the easy answer is obviously utterly complete BS. Um, and then you have people like this person, Andrew Wakefield, right, who are actually, they're pretty intelligent. They're just very poorly informed. And a lot of that poor information comes from their own intelligence. This is where we have to like be careful because there are, I'm smart. I know that I'm smart. But if I try to act like I am a professional in a field that I know nothing about, what ends up happening is I go and do research in it, and then I start wildly spreading misinformation because I'm misunderstanding things. But I don't realize I'm misunderstanding things because I'm being an egomaniac and assuming that I know everything, right? Or the guy might just be a dick. I don't know. I have no idea. But I find that generally is the case that people with moderate or high intelligence that are too full of themselves go off and spread misinformation under the guise of good argument. And people who are very low effort in terms of what they're trying to learn rapidly absorb that information because it's easy to absorb. This is what made things in the pandemic so difficult about understanding the actual dangers of COVID and why masks are important, why social distancing is important, right? Because what you end up having is, oh, the CDC doesn't know what it's talking about. And sure enough, they don't. They're ass. The CDC should not have gone back and forth so much. Dr. Fauci knows what he's talking about. Anybody who thinks he doesn't understand science. The problem is Dr. Fauci should have waited to talk to the public, but the public couldn't wait. They want an answer now because everybody's scared now. And he's going, well, okay, I'm going to give you the best information I have now. And then it turned out that that was misinformation because he didn't know the truth yet. Nobody did. And so a couple weeks later, when information gets updated, he goes, okay, this is the thing. Everybody's going, oh, but last week you said this thing. Now you're a liar. And now we can't trust you. But that's because people don't understand the scientific process. So it's like, and then you have arguments with all sorts of people. It's like, why do I have to wear a mask if masks don't work? It's like, well, masks do work, and we have a ton of evidence to suggest that. Literally hundreds of articles now that they work overwhelmingly well. But you both have to be wearing one. And it's like, well, you know, a mask won't save you from getting sick. No, it won't. It'll actually save the other person from getting sick from you. Well, if I'm not sick, why do I have to wear a mask? Well, you might actually be sick and not realize it. That's why you need to wear a mask, right? Oh, but I don't need to wear a mask if I'm 6 feet away. No, that's not true. You actually want to wear a mask and be 6 feet away. The thing is that if you're 6 feet away, your stuff that you're putting off in your particulate, I guess, in your own breath has time to disperse before it gets close enough to anyone that it might infect them. There's a really good chance that they won't become infected, even if you are infected, as long as you're 6 feet away, because of airflow dynamics and things like that. And if you're wearing a mask, you keep that whole ghost of stuff all around you close to your face. It actually just comes out next to your face instead of spreading out around you and emanating everywhere. Then it goes up into the air and dissipates and dies. Or deactivates, it's a better thing to say. Viruses don't die because they're not alive. But we know these things because we've sat here and studied these things for a very long time. But you try to explain all this to somebody who really has very low effort in terms of their thinking and intelligence. They just don't want to put any work in. And they end up going, well, this is a bunch of bullshit. I'm not doing this. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And then people like this Andrew Wakefield, who provide, it's like Ben Shapiro or Tucker Carlson or Alex Jones. All of these people are wildly just insane. Like, their information that they're spreading is horrifying. And they're just smart enough to make their argument compelling. It's not that they know what they're talking about. In fact, they actively prove that they don't know what they're talking about almost ever, right? But it doesn't matter as long as it appeals to their fan base. And their fan base is very low effort. So they need information that is easy to digest and can be digested right now, which I will admit, that is a difficult thing to do. I wish I was better at that. I thought I was good, but I think I could be better. But, you know, people like who I just mentioned are really good at this. And so they have a lot of like buzzwords, things to get people to like kind of trigger an emotional reaction. People like Joe Rogan, for sure, right? It gets people excited and aware of something, and then they have a way of teaching their talking points to other people, kind of like how you would train a dog, honestly. uh, I don't know if any of y'all watch Some More News with I forget his name. His name's Cody something, but I love the show. It's really funny. But he was talking about why, I don't know. This might have been a while ago, but new to me. I just recently watched it. He was talking about why Republicans are not funny, right? And it's because they're not, because they have terrible humor. They actually, like, people who are Republican on TV don't understand humor at all. In fact, the only thing they know how to do and seem to mistake humor for is being insulting to other people. And then they call it humor, and then they tell you, hey, you shouldn't, take it so tough. Um, and then, when you look at it, really they only have one joke, and it comes in two forms, right? That joke is, did you just assume my gender? Or uh, I now identify as blank, i.e., combat helicopter, or something absurd, right? So, literally, just offensive people because their whole goal is owning the libs, right? Meanwhile, everybody else in the world is like, hey, the world's on fire. We should be trying to fix this, right? Um, what do you do? Do you think our daydreams mean anything? Sure, I do. Yeah. And I think they mean more to some than others, because some people don't daydream at all. Some people daydream a lot. Um, I think that daydreaming is sort of a defragmentation process while you're still conscious. Although you're sort of slipping into your subconscious, you're not like actively present, but you're there, just sort of like watching your mind play out a scenario. And I think that's very important for learning. I think it's an important learning mechanism because oftentimes you'll find yourself daydreaming about a conversation you might have, or you're daydreaming about the thing you're learning. Like, for instance, if you are, um I've seen people daydream when they're ready to practice a sport, right? So you'll see, say, people are playing baseball, and and I'm referring right now to like children. Adults who are professionals playing baseball obviously already know what they're doing. They're less likely to daydream because they're attentive in the moment. But like children who are just trying to learn how to play the game, you'll see them like kind of like go off in la la land every once in a while. And it's because they watch this thing happen, and then they try to think about how they can apply it to themselves. You know, I don't know if I ever daydream. I just actively think of stuff always. It's never passive. Oh, yeah, you might not be a daydreamer. There are plenty of people who do. Some people are lost daydreaming. Some people can't get out of it. That borders on mental illness. Oh, you're welcome. Made an entire career of it. That's true. Yeah, and I mean, like for people like Tucker Carlson, right? He's been actively proven to be spreading misinformation, and he's had to go to court for it a billion times. The argument that allowed them to get by was that no one in their right mind would consider anything Tucker Carlson says to be real, um, which should cue you into something, except that the people who actually watch him are completely unaware of that fact. Um, but meanwhile, he does get paid a ton of money to keep spreading it. Very frustrating. Yeah, I'm totally fine with masks. Yeah, keep me from smelling your breath, keep me from seeing your face. I don't care. You know what? I'm so sick of feeling publicly pressured to smile at other people. I like wearing a mask, and I'll keep doing it. Miasma. Yeah. Hi, Greedy Vices. Welcome back. It does seem that way. Yeah. Tucker Arg. Yeah. For real. So much effort into being low effort thinkers. It's true. Like at this point, with how readily available information is and how rapidly distributed by hard workers it is, um, it's you'd have to actively go out of your way to not be able to see the truth. How will I find a life mate if they don't know how cute I am? Aw, aw, dang. How will you? You know what though? They make those glass face shields. Yeah. Then they'll know you're cute, but also they'll think you're really weird. But that's cool. Kind of weeds out the boring people. Look pissed all the time in your mask. I do too, I think. Or maybe just really tired. I'm not sure. My eyes are always so tired. Came to troll me. Yeah, I've got a lot of points. Why would you troll me? Just curious. Like I don't understand why people put that kind of effort into stuff. Are you just like are you just trying to learn? Is that your way of learning? You know? Sometimes like when people play devil's advocate, right? They can really ignite a discussion topic and then they inadvertently are taught something by it. So I think some people I think it's not a very healthy way to go about learning, but some people can capitalize on that resource. That might be you. Just louder. Yeah, that's true. Right. That's another thing. It's like what is truth and what is fiction? And like honestly, truth is not always fact. Truth is sometimes the thing that is accepted by everybody. You know, like at one point in time, it was true that the earth was flat. I guess to some people it still is. At one point in time, it was true that the earth was the center of the universe. Maybe to some people it still is. Um, but, you know, facts will tell you that those things aren't true. But if the entire world population still accepted that as true, it would be the truth, right? Because it would be the thing that was accepted and it would be how we operate our lives. We would base that off of. So, unfortunately, yeah, a lot of bad information is like spread so quickly and so easily and quite loudly, right? That's another thing that you'll see with a lot of Republican TV, just media faces, is that they mistake being loud for having a good argument. They really think that just because they're talking louder and over another individual, that means that they're right because they have better confidence. But I mean, you can confidently be an idiot. It doesn't make you correct. However, the more confident you do sound, the more likely other people that aren't willing to put in the mental effort to look further into it, they're more likely to just accept what you're saying because of your confidence, which is never good. You should always question everybody all the time. I have not seen the Dr. Phil Matt Walsh episode. I guess maybe I'll have to. I really don't like Dr. Phil. I don't know who Matt Walsh is. American columnist. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Playground bullies is a very good way to put it. That is exactly what they are like. I'm bigger than you. I have more guns. You should listen to me. Freedom. No, they don't. They never really have. Hello. Sorry if it's taking me forever to say hi to you, Jenny. Yes, eat your 19th snack. Eat all the snacks. Eat the 20th and the 21st also. You'll look to the upper right. I do that too. I do that while I'm thinking. Yeah. Do you believe there's an easy way to rewire your brain? You have too many acronyms there. I don't know what you're trying to say. Is it Yoshi, like the dinosaur? Or is it something else? Sorry if uh, I literally, is it complex regional pain syndrome? I literally read so many academic papers with so many acronyms that I can't keep track of all of them because I know a lot of them, but at the same time, there are many acronyms that are the same acronym but used for something else. Usually affects an arm or a leg. Ooh, that sounds rough. Yeah. So the brain, there's not an easy way to rewire the brain. There is never going to be an easy way to rewire the brain. That takes a lot of effort, and especially with pain, it's like a whole other ball game. We actually are still trying to understand pain. There's a lot of unknown. Hence, why I am a pain researcher where I'm at now. Um, yeah, it would have to depend on what is causing your pain. Looks like a surgery, stroke, or heart attack or injury. Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to know more about your situation. Daydream a lot. I disappear within myself and solve things. Yeah, I mean, it's not all that different from regular dreaming if you think about it, except that there's a difference in how your body is healing or rejuvenating. Yeah, you like wearing your mask too. I'm glad your son is in remission. I hope it doesn't come back. Yeah, I used to just let strangers breathe on me. Gross. Ooh, yeah. 50 pounds. Yikes. That's a lot. That's very scary. Sorry to hear about that. COVID brought it back. I wonder why. I wonder why. Uh, what part of you is affected? Does it affect just one limb? Which limb? Or does it affect like a side of your body? How does that how does that manifest? Immunosuppressed. So you don't really have a choice. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people are, and they don't seem to be as important. Probably talked about this before, but why do we get random stabby pains in different spots in our bodies? There's different reasons for that. Sometimes random stabby pain can be due to neuropathy. Um, it can be due to like regular neuropathy that happens with time. It could be due to other things. Maybe you're like tweaked a body part the wrong way. It might be temporary or it might be permanent. Um, random stabby pain in different spots in our bodies. Generally, you don't have it random. It might be random in terms of timing, but it usually affects the same part of the body. If it's constantly random and affecting many different parts of the body, there might be a different disorder going on. And there are a bunch of disorders that can cause that. But if you really can't identify any, I think we just sort of label that as fibromyalgia, which also comes with like reddening of the skin, sometimes itchiness that you can't really scratch. You like feel something itchy and you'll try to scratch it, but it feels like you're kind of, it feels like the itch is underneath the skin, if that makes sense. It's a really strange phenomenon. But basically, what's happening is the neurons that are responsible, these like free nerve endings that go to your spine and then head to your brain are hang on, sorry. Uh, these free nerve endings that head to your spine, they are miscommunicating for one reason or another. Like I said, they can sometimes get pinched. Sometimes it's degradation. Sometimes it's just misfiring. It's like an accident. Um, yeah. Not that it's that uncommon. It is pretty common. I think it happens to a lot of people around their 30s and older. You're tired too? Good. Like the dino. After your fifth knee surgery. Okay, yeah. Left untreated and went crazy. Oh, yeah. We should be friends. After COVID shots. I doubt that the shots had anything to do with it. But so something that can happen, especially when you have like surgery, you're severing those nerves. Um, basically, so we have what's called the gate theory of pain, right? It's like, in case you didn't know, hi Vince and stuff. Referred pain that I tried to, oh, tied to a shoulder issue, seemed to be everywhere for a while. Yeah. So here's a weird thing: humans' default setting is to be in pain. Our default is to be in pain, which, like, honestly, now everything makes sense, right? But what I mean by that is generally your senses don't work until you activate them. For instance, when my eyes receive light, then they become activated and they tell my brain that they're activated because light is hitting my retina. When a sound comes to my ear, it activates the neurons in my cochlea, which send that message to my brain. And my brain goes, "Oh, I'm active now because of this active process that's happening." With pain, your default setting is to be in pain. So actually, you have to actively be have the pain taken away. If that makes sense, it's really kind of difficult to explain. It's not that it's a difficult concept. The circuitry is pretty simple, but it can be kind of hard to keep it in mind. So what's happening is you have neurons. So your default setting is to be in pain. So you have neurons that are actively shutting that gate so that pain signal is not transmitted. And these are like very large fibers, and the very small fibers are the ones that transmit pain signals. So, without getting too much into the circuitry, the large fibers sort of balance everything out and keep everything closed as a whole. If you activate the small fibers, you actually inhibit the inhibitory process and thereby activate the pain process. Um, or you're opening the gate and allowing pain to flow. So, like, say you've had a bunch of surgeries or some other injury, right? And you do damage to all those nerve fibers. Even if you kill off the big fibers and the small fibers, because the default is to be in pain, now no signals are being sent. And so the automatic reception is pain, right? This is also thought to be possibly one of the mechanisms behind why some people experience phantom limb pain. Like, there's nothing there. How can it be in pain if it's not even in existence, right? But the reason why is because the default is to perceive pain. So the circuit will still become activated because the things feeding it are deactivated, if that makes sense. Big doses of vitamin C. I wonder why that would help. Oh, yeah. Harm says it's anti-inflammatory. Um, got COVID a month ago. Still trying to recover. Gosh, that's rough. I'm sorry to hear that. The under the skin itch, yeah, it's one of the most annoying things because you really can't get to it. It just doesn't exist. I had this. Hey, fun fact: I've been stabbed. I got sorry. uh, am I supposed to give a trigger warning for that? I don't know if I am. Anyway, so I was stabbed in the leg one time, and ever since then, the nerves have not been like quite right. And I would describe that feeling as though I'm wearing a sock over the injured site. And so sometimes it itches really bad and I try to scratch it, but it feels like I'm scratching a sock. Like I can't feel my skin there. It's really strange. It's an odd sensation and also impossible to actually get the itch because it doesn't exist. The itch isn't in existence. It's just that neuronal feedback misfiring. That's actually another interesting thing that can happen, the itching. So the itching is because of the large fibers, they would generally transmit information about the sensation of touch, right? So it really what's happening is to shut the pain gate, you receive information about touch. That's why sometimes we hurt ourselves and we hold it and we go, oh, we put pressure on it. It's because the sensation of touch is shutting the gate, right? So it becomes less painful. Also promotes your brain kicking in some endogenous opioids, which help to relieve the pain. But oh yeah, that itch is just awful. Oh man, random pain in the wrong place when I scratch. My ankle is connected to my eighth rib. Yeah, some people are wired funny. I mean, your whole system is literally wired together, so it makes sense that random issues can happen sometimes. I know with me, sometimes like when I'm cleaning my ear out with a Q-tip, I feel like severe pain in my neck or in my like arm. The 30s. Ugh. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine it would probably be more likely a coincidence. I can't say for sure, but I doubt you're getting seizures from the COVID vaccine. Likely something else has caused it. And if you are having a bunch of surgeries done on your nervous tissue, it would make sense to me. Also, if you have been in a state of heightened anxiety for a very long time, which if you're having multiple surgeries and there's the fear of getting COVID and there's the fear of what might the shot do to me, despite the fact that generally it's very, 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 very safe. All that pressure on a person can cause their system to become overwhelmed. So, it probably is a coincidence, and it's actually probably not even that crazy of a coincidence, I would argue. Um, yeah, yeah. Not to say that you might not have had a reaction to the vaccine. There is a chance that you did. It's just that that chance is so minuscule that I almost call it nothing, which is pretty rare for me to say that something's not going to happen. Default is definitely pain. Hey, fun fact. Yeah. Sorry, that might have been too much. Whoops. Oh, now you don't want to get stabbed. Well, sorry, I ruined the fun for you. Jeez, Vince, what do you got going on, man? Are you doing okay? Hey, listen, dude. Everybody's worried about you. Your armpit tickles when you sneeze. Oh, it's pretty weird. Yeah. Oh man, I have powerful sneezes. Uh, on occasion, I'll sneeze so hard that I pop the cartilage in the back of my ribs, and then I can't breathe for a little while. Oof. Now it's just time to start training my brain for fun things. Yeah, totally. You know, I would say that provided that you've recovered from your injury, recovered in the sense that you are no longer injured. You may still be experiencing weird things with pain, numbness, weird, shocky kind of feelings in your limb. Um, but I would recommend lots of light exercise. Don't overdo yourself and like hurt yourself. Oh, it's 11:11. Everybody make a wish. Um, don't overdo it and hurt yourself, but definitely keep that blood pumping. And provide yourself with adequate nutrition. Maybe stay away from too much sugar. Right? Have a little sugar in the morning. Have a little bit of sugar before you work out or whatever. But maybe like bring the sugar down. Uh, what else? Caffeine's okay as long as you're not overdoing it. Stay away from a lot of fatty things for now. That's not true. Natural fats are okay, but I would stay away from like, the unsaturated fats, like, you know, uh, but the reason why is because you're trying to provide your nervous system with what it needs. We were reading an article about this the other day. They were basically recommended Harvard. These people at Harvard recommended like a Mediterranean style diet. Nuts, berries, rice, beans. Lots of protein. You're providing your nervous system with what it needs to heal in the meantime. And so I think if you really want to rewire it, you need to give it what it needs to do that process. I still need more surgery on my knee. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. Yeah, that's awful. That's going to be quite some rehab. I feel for you. That's tough. I'm sorry. Yeah, I used to be a runner too. That would just like murder me. But I got really sick and I couldn't run anymore. Pretty sure it was COVID, but the doctors wouldn't test me for it because it was technically before COVID had come here by like 3 months. But I'm certain that's what it was. And I haven't been able to run since. It really bothers me. I think I might be able to slowly get back into it. There was a solid like 8 or 9 months where I couldn't hardly even walk fast. And like with you going through the stuff with your knees, I just couldn't imagine. Um, I could see how that might be worrisome, maybe even upsetting. And I really do feel for you. I hope that um, I hope that everything comes out okay. You know, that you get what you need, and that hopefully your health will be good after this. Um, you'll heal well, and then also hopefully there won't be any more instances. That's the hope. But I'll be sending good vibes your way, whatever I can, to the best of my ability. Sometimes I daydream about what I would do if someone tried to stab me. I daydream about bullshit all the time, and then I have to catch myself and go, hey, this thing that I'm thinking, is this conducive to my life today? Like, shouldn't I be working on Deep Lab Cut? Why am I thinking about getting stabbed? Kick with both feet. Yikes. Yeah, fish and omega 3s are definitely good for the brain. Well, fish because of the omega 3s, but you can also get fish oil tabs um, for supplements and lots of berries. Fruit is a really good idea in general. Red things, weirdly enough, naturally red things like red bell peppers, tomatoes, what else? Lots of chili peppers, lots of peppers. But typically they say it's kind of colloquial, but I mean it's not wrong. Just fruits and veggies that you find in the wild that are just naturally red. tends to be good for your like vascular system and like your cardiovascular system, so everything. And you know, the better blood flow you have, the better off your nervous system will be as well. Don't bounce like I used to. Me either, man. I'm all crunchy. Oof. I actually had no idea about Ramsey Hunt syndrome, but it sounds awful. So, anytime you're dealing with the cranial nerves, like any sort of neuropathy in your cranial nerves is literally hell for people. Um, and it looks like Ramsay Hunt syndrome is a form of herpes or like a shingles outbreak that affects one of your nerves near the ear. This is like a branch off of the trigeminal nerve. And I actually have the information down. I was going to do a video. I still need to do the video on trigeminal neuralgia. But let me tell you that people who have it, uh, they really are not having a good time. Oftentimes they want to die. It is probably one of the worst things that could happen to somebody. And so I imagine having trigeminal neuralgia and also like, or this like sort of symptom, uh, I don't know, like having shingles in that nerve, that's got to be the worst feeling ever. You need some fun in your life. Yeah, for sure. Aw. Yeah, you need some fun in your life. And, you know, sometimes it helps to just appreciate the small stuff too. You know, like, because we forget how, no thanks, I'm not going to go live with you. We forget how magical our world really is, you know? Um, Looking at this piece of plastic, it's just a piece of plastic to me. And I know if I smack these buttons in any particular order, I might have all the knowledge of the universe at my fingertips, right? But, you know, I forget that it kind of makes you like Google God, right? That's some power. I have a lot of power available to me, but I forget that because it seems so mundane. But then, you know, take away the computer and internet, and then what am I? Well, I still have the power of observation. I can sit with a leaf and contemplate for hours about what created that leaf, how it comes to be about. Why does it have these particular spots? What are these little like uh, gastro openings on the bottom? You know, Smatophores? I can't remember. I was never that good with botany. Um, I like animals, but yeah, blood. What about it? What, like drinking blood? No, not red velvet cake. I'm talking about fruits and veggies, you animals, not red dye. Still beating the heart of your enemies, maybe, but take the neuronal stuff out of it first. Don't eat the neurons. You might get a prion disorder. Beanies are the secret to knowledge. Just to keep a steady compression on your brain so you can't think straight. To regain my brain to walk a straight line. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That is just gnarly. Mm. Yeah, because, you know, that trigeminal nerve, to kind of, here, I'll pull up a picture. Sorry, YouTube, you're not going to be able to see. But I'll pull up a quick image so people can see like what I'm talking about. Oh, that image is terrifying, as most are. Um, here, we'll keep the terrifying one because it's real screamy looking. which I find fitting for this, screamy faces. Here we go. So you see like a person's face. Here's the eyeball. Here's the mouth. So you have the trigeminal nerve, which is coming from straight from the brain.
What is that horrifying image?
It's coming from like kind of the brainstem, not quite. I mean, you could maybe consider it part of the midbrain anyway. And so it feeds all the nerves in your tongue, all the nerves into your teeth. So when you have like toothache, like an infection, a tooth infection, if you've ever experienced a massive tooth infection and you're like, this is the worst pain I've ever experienced ever, and I kind of want to kill myself because of how bad the pain is in my face, this is why it's affecting these nerves in your trigeminal um, ganglion, right? And you can see they go all throughout your face. And some of them go through your ears, and these ones project up, to your cochlea and to your semicircular canals. So what this person's talking about, what Find Your Joy is talking about, is that they have an issue with inflammation occurring here near the ear. And what's happening there is, well, here, hold on. So in that area, you have what are called the cochlea, which is responsible for processing auditory information. And you also have, I wonder what that looked like to YouTube. That was probably a big old mess. Sorry, YouTube. You also have your semicircular canals, which are responsible for your sense of balance. So it makes sense that if you've infected your semicircular canals, right, essentially, the liquid that's in them is probably going to be a little bit more viscous. And you're probably, due to the nature of how those canals work, you're probably going to lose your sense of balance pretty easily. Yeah. So I'm sorry you're going through that. That's actually, I've never heard of anybody having that before. I have friends that have trigeminal neuralgia, but I've never met somebody who had that specific thing occurring in their ear. Most people that I've met have problems with their eyes and their mouth or their tongue. Why does the brain do the zappy zappy? Because no more SSRI. Um, Good question. I don't quite know, but you know, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors keep serotonin in the synapse longer, right? So, um, I guess you could say that if your neurons, if you're on a SSRI for long enough, then your neurons are going to have to be um, kind of accounting for its presence. So, uh, if they can't reuptake your serotonin, then those neurons are probably going to try to reuptake harder. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of guessing here, but I think what's happening is that once you come off of the reuptake inhibitor, you have this refractory period where the presynaptic neuron is almost too efficient at reuptake, and then you have no serotonin in the synapse. So I think like the zappy zaps, like you're saying, or like people sometimes get, is this feeling of almost like deactivation temporarily. But I'm not sure. I would need to do some more reading, and I would need to talk to more people who experience it, because I would theorize that you might have like a flat affect during the episode of the zappy zaps. Like a lack of emotion, um, due to the nature of serotonin having a role in um, managing mood, right? Cop never pulls you over to test if you're under the influence. Yeah. Ask anything you like. Your middle name is Dura. What's your last name? Is it Mater? So good at the brain stuff. Aw, thanks. That's very sweet of you. Took me a lot of years, and I still feel like I'm nowhere. You know, that's the thing. You learn so much, and then you realize you only know so little. Um, so let's see. Can you please explain how scaffolding protein works in the brain? Let me look this up. So scaffolding proteins are important for the way cells are structured, right? Um, and there are like a million, probably more scaffolding types of scaffolding proteins. Let me look this up specifically. Microdeletion. Okay. Phelan-McDermid syndrome, disorder caused by the loss of a small piece of chromosome 22, occurs at the end of the chromosome at Q13.3. Involve many body parts, and the syndrome varies widely. Moderate to profound intellectual disability, decreased muscle tone, and absent or delayed speech. Autistic-like behavior. Okay. Poor eye contact, sensitivity to touch, affected communication and social interaction, and aggressive behaviors. Yeah, so it sounds like a lot of people who have this probably qualify for the diagnosis of autism. Chew on non-food items such as clothing. Sometimes have seizures, but not very often. Decreased sensitivity to pain. Okay. Reduced ability to sweat, which leads to a risk of overheating and dehydration. Okay. Droopy eyelids. Yep. Narrow head, deep set eyes. Okay. So, like, scaffolding proteins provide structure to cells, right? And if you mess with your scaffolding proteins, your cells are not able to maintain their structure, obviously. So, what's happening here, I guess this deletion affects a ton of systems in the body, which is really unfortunate. However, it is always interesting to try to find potential reasons for autism, or potential causes, I should say. And so, something I know about another cause for symptoms of autism is Fragile X mental something syndrome. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to get banned, just in case. But basically, what's happening is anywhere along the string of DNA on the X chromosome, you might have the codon CGG. And if it's repeated over and over and over again, you can start to have problems. Right around 50 or more repetitions of this CGG, 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 it starts to myelinate, or sorry, methylate. Yes. Gosh, I'm getting tired. Sorry. Essentially, the thing that would normally code for the protein, the FMR protein, no longer can do so efficiently. It starts breaking down. And at 200 or more, you have the official genetic diagnosis of Fragile X syndrome. And this leads to many of the same impairments and also a high rate of comorbidity with autistic like behaviors. Um, so, that particular protein has a lot of functions throughout the nervous system, which means that any neuron that encodes for that protein is going to have trouble functioning. And it seems that a lot of the nervous system is afflicted, such that the pain system does not work as well. The motor systems through the eyes and the muscles are also not as good, and hence the lack of development. Um, I don't know what's going on with your son, but it looks like this is generally the case. And then also, it looks like this is a really important protein for the cells responsible for learning and memory as well, which is also true for that fragile X protein, the FMR protein. Um, Interesting and scary and unfortunate. Sorry to hear about your son, but hopefully you're able to make good accommodations for him and he has a reasonably good life, I imagine. I'm hoping. Um, yeah. Other than that, I don't really know much about it. That's really all I can say on it. Sorry, I don't have more. But I will be looking more into this. I actually didn't even know about this gene deletion. So thank you for bringing it to my attention. Woke up one morning, couldn't walk down the hall, bouncing off the walls, catching myself. Yikes, that is so scary. That's so scary because it's indicative of other stuff too. Like, people who experience these things often have like brain tumors and things. So if something like that is happening to you, Trigenta, what? Bye, Kim. Sorry I missed your bedtime. The visual and sharing. Yes, vertigo is a thing with Ramsey Hunt. Life feels tough right now. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, I'm happy that, I'll share what I can. Yeah, so the thing about, waking up and not being able to have balance, it could be nothing. Like literally, legitimately, sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes you're still waking up. Sometimes it's like a temporary miscommunication. Um, Sometimes it might just be because you're getting older, because you have these semicircular canals. I'll actually, since I'm talking about them so much, I'll bring up an image. Just so you can like kind of know what I'm talking about. But basically, I don't know. Let's see. Here's a good image. So you can see you have like your pinnae, you got the inner ear, you got your hammer, anvil, and stirrup. They all kind of feed into the cochlea. This is for processing auditory stuff. But then you have the semicircular canals up here, right? And this might be better with a different image now that I'm thinking about it, because these are kind of weird. So here you see again, we have the cochlea, and then here we have the canals. And they're semicircular because they almost make full circles. But also notice that they're at three orientations, they're on different axes. And so the reason that they're on different axes is because they're actually filled with fluid and they have little hairs. Let's see if I can find a better one. You kind of see with this. No, that's not very good. Well, anyway, they're filled with fluid and they have little hairs, and then you also have these little stones inside them. Again, none of these images are really capturing it. But if you see this little like dark purple sort of tissue down here, and here, this is all hair cells. They like look like tiny little hairs, right? And floating in this viscous fluid are little stones called otoliths. Oh, it looks like this is an image from somebody's test. But these little otoliths, these little rocks, are sort of bouncing along these hair cells. So if you are upright, right, you're oriented correctly such that up is this way, right, sort of north, I guess. All the otoliths will fall to the bottom of these tubes and rub on the hairs on the bottom. And that informs you that you're standing upright. And if you tilt your head to the side, those little balls will start to roll to the side of these tubes, right? They'll roll along the sides of these tubes because they're informing you of which direction is up, down, left, right, whatever. I hope that makes sense. So that fluid, as you get older, or due to other causes, you might even just be severely dehydrated, in which case you might be in danger here if you're this dehydrated. But that liquid inside of those semicircular canals can become more viscous and make it harder for those little otoliths to roll around. So then if you're leaning to the side, you know that up is this way. Your head can feel up is this way because in each of your ears, all the otoliths are sinking to the bottom and rubbing against those hairs. And if it's too viscous, then when you go like this, they're like stuck over here. So even though you've moved this way, you still feel like up is that way. And so you'll continue moving that way, right? And then by the time you're moving that way, the otoliths are rolling very slowly. And now you're overcorrecting back and forth. And that will cause you to start bouncing against some walls. It literally could be nothing. And then also it could be something very frightening. Because sometimes this is caused by, like sometimes if a brain tumor is growing and pushing on one of them. The more you learn, it seems the less you know because it's so much to the brain. Yeah, and there's so much to literally everything in the universe, right? That's like I said earlier, when you learn the answer to one question, you just have a million more questions. That's part of why it's tough to be intelligent and it becomes depressing, is because you want to share all this knowledge with everybody that you're gaining. And a lot of people don't really care because they don't want to put forth the mental effort to learn what you have to offer. Fragile X, yeah. That was one of the. Okay, Phelan-McDermott syndrome. Thank you for pointing this resource out to me. I'll be doing a deep dive in this tonight. I really appreciate that. Maybe I can do a video on it too, if you don't mind. But yeah, Fragile X was one of the subjects of my study at the University of Oregon when I was working on my master's, because I was looking at Fragile X as a potential cause for autism because it's one of the only known single gene causes for autism. But now that I know that this gene exists, I want to look more into this too. But yeah. Hello, Joe. Sorry, I know you probably said hello forever ago. But not grow cognitively. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry to hear about that. He's cute, so we take good care of him. That's good. I'm glad he's cute then. Yeah, I can't imagine. That must be very difficult to navigate. But also, I wonder how old he is. I imagine it probably gets hopefully a little easier as you get more familiar with his mannerisms and stuff. Yeah, that's no surprise. I've never heard of it. Yeah, only little less than 2,800 cases. That's like That's almost functionally non-existent in terms of like the whole world's population. That's almost nobody. That's insane. No, Katie, you're fine. You might just drink too much. I don't know. I'm your personal WebMD. Oh no. Yeah. Don't yeah, if you have issues, don't look at WebMD. Just go to the doctor. Oh, MS is that is interesting that you bring that up though. That might be something to consider. It's good to see you, oh Alice. How are you? I am working in at Yale now. I'm not sure if that's what you mean, but there are mice there. Yes. Sign on for this kind of live every day. I'm here a lot of days of the week. Generally, I generally go live here on YouTube. We do Friday Night Lives if you want to join us. I start at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I usually go for about 3 hours, sometimes a little more, but usually I try to cut it off at 3 hours. So you're definitely welcome to join us there. If you don't mind, you can even subscribe to my YouTube channel, Neural Jack. I'm trying to get more subscribers so that I can eventually monetize and make more content. But you don't have to. You're welcome to join me here because I'm usually live there and here, or and there for you guys. I don't know. Um, sure, yeah. Yeah, try to catch me this week. Friday, sure. I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow. And then usually Saturday, I don't get on, but I might. It depends. And then Sundays, I usually pop on too. So usually it's like Friday and Sunday. But sometimes I randomly pop in and out throughout the week too. Yeah. Yeah, I'll see what I can do to work on a video for this. It's such a rare thing. It's so interesting. Hmm. How long have I been on today? Let's see. YouTube's telling me an hour and 22 minutes, 23 minutes. But I know I didn't start YouTube until much later after this. I think. Was it much later? Maybe it wasn't. So we've been on for about an hour and a half, I think. Yeah. Nord Genetics at Mayo. Oh no. Yeah, it is getting pretty late. Oh yeah, it's almost midnight here. Ah gosh. I do love talking about the brain, and I'll be happy to do it more. But I may have to hop off here. Uh, let's see. Someone told me that lack of empathy and remorse could be a neuronal pathway issue. Thoughts? Yeah, totally. So you have two regions that we know are really important for that, and they are your anterior temporal lobe. Anterior meaning towards the face, kind of, or I don't know, towards the front. We kind of generally use it. Anatomically, humans are weird compared to other animals, so we kind of use it differently in humans, but towards the head. But since we're in the head, towards the face. Um, yeah, so the anterior temporal lobe and the prefrontal cortex right here in this area, and all this stuff, all the meaty bits in between, which include a lot of emotional processing. There's some connection to your amygdala through the caudate, and What else? Your hippocampus is kind of in that region. Yeah. So, whoops, lost some cerebellum. That's okay. We'll be fine. Can't walk straight, but we're fine. Yeah, we know that these regions seem to be heavily implicated in empathic and emotional processing, and especially empathic processing where you're trying to understand something from another person's point of perspective. And we do know that people who are criminals and have either killed somebody or tried to kill somebody, when they undergo brain scans, regularly do show a significant reduction in gray matter tissue in those regions of the brain and lower activation there, which makes sense. If you have less tissue, you're going to have less activation. For those who don't know, gray matter is generally thought to be your cells, the bodies, and then white matter is thought to be the myelinated tracts, so the axons of those cells. So you have the cell body, and then it's like the length of its body, a projection, sort of like a tail or something, um, kind of extends to go communicate somewhere else. And so it's thought that the greater the gray mass, the greater the number of cell bodies, the better the processing power. Yeah. I may need to go to work tomorrow. I'm not sure. I probably will go. I need to go do some histology. Yeah. Catch you later, Vincent. Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for being a part of the talk. Thanks for giving me stuff to talk about. Yes, it is time. We must end this. The end is nigh. It is now. The time has come. Until next time, let's see. Tomorrow's Thursday. I may or may not hop on for a bit tomorrow, but it's looking a little unlikely. I'm not sure yet. You are very welcome. Um, but I definitely will most likely. I don't know. I'm not going to say definitely because you never know what can happen. But I will most likely be live Friday night for Friday Night Live. Aw, thank you. I appreciate you joining our community. And yeah, because I really need the help over here right now. I'm trying to grow this thing. So thank you so much. All right, everybody. Much love. Hope everybody has a good night. Sleep well. Be good to your brains. Be good to your hearts. Make sure they're communicating together efficiently and not separately. Yeah. We'll see you again soon. Good night.